Step in the ring, no fear, all bite, hands up high. We train for this fight, bell gon' ring, it's war on sight. This is boxing life, this is fight. Sweat on the floor, we grind, we climb. Every bruise on the body means we're on our time. Shadow in the corner, punch sharp like a knife. Every round, every rep.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fight fans all around the world. It's Red Corner Boxing's review session time on a Sunday evening. The chaps are with us. We're having a bit of technical problems with one or two, but we will be running smoothly, no doubt, very soon. This program is sponsored by BoxingFightZone.com. They are our proud sponsors here at Red Corner. Check all the links in the bio, and there's a cheeky wee discount or two. Right, this review session is purely on Glory in Giza, the pyramids there last night in Egypt. Card that was headlined by Alexander Usyk and Rico Verhoeven. Referee was Mark Lyson of the United Kingdom, and Usyk with his pound for pound record of 24-0-0 over two divisions against the 1-0-0 Rico Verhoeven, who had a warm-up against Finfana, of all people, if you know who he is. Well, history was almost in the making last night, Jams. Just want to say welcome to Dan Garber. I hope you can hear me, Dan.
I can now. Can you hear me okay?
Fantastic, mate. We got Dan Garber, British professional heavyweight boxer. We got Jams, my compadre, my co-man here at Red Corner Boxing. We got Alex the Great, Alex Sankey, all the way from across the water there in Virginia. We got Brunson Boxing, the space extraordinaire. We got Homer Boxing on X, and he is a Premier League, I should say League One Prediction League contender already. And Bill, as is Billionaire Boxing. How you doing, big man? Hope you're well. No, we'll get to these guys in a bit, but I want to, come to Jams and Dan first. Jams, we did a watch along. We think, predictions all over the world were going on at the same time. I think at Fan Zone had like 90% that, Alexander Usyk was going to knock this man out and do it early. And at one time, I was fearing for British boxing, or not British boxing, for world boxing at a certain point in the fight. Give me your feelings on the fight. And then, we're going to talk about, have a little debate on whether the stoppage was correct or not. Now, we've had some conflicting opinions on this, all very, very, laid back and casual, of course. There's nothing, bad to say about it. It's just opinions. However, Jams, we had a disagreement on the stoppage. I think it was a bit soft. Lyson stopped the fight after the bell, which he didn't hear. He was too busy,
saving Rico.
He gave Rico enough time to recover, and then immediately as Usyk went in for the kill, he stopped the fight. Now, give me your reasons why that stoppage was legit, and then we'll go over to Dan.
Okay, bro. Yeah. We disagreed on the live watch along, but I've watched it back a couple of times. I stand by what I said on the live. He was in all kinds of trouble. Yeah, he was dominating the fight, Rico. It was terrible style, head down, boorish. You could tell he was a kickboxer, not a boxer. But he was getting the job done. Usyk was so off his game, it was just ridiculous to see. I've never seen Usyk look so bad. But when the time came and he needed to get that stoppage, he put the man through the ropes. He spat his gum shield out. He was staggering about like a Bambi on ice, you know what I mean? He was done. This was no stoppage. If that was anyone else who wasn't behind to a kickboxer, everyone would have said, yeah, fair stoppage, fair play. Heavyweight's got to be protected. It's a tough game. For me, mate, it was decent.
Okay, then. But, let me ask you the question, mate, right? This guy, he's got nobody in their right mind in the boxing world is going to give this guy a chance. Yet, he proved over 10 rounds that he was, on the night, the better boxer. He was ahead on the cards in most people's eyes, although 2 judges had it a draw and 1 judge had it Verhoeven a round up. But Usyk wasn't to know these scores. He knew in his heart he was behind, and that's when he decided to wake up in round 11. However, I come back to the thing, where does a man who come into a fight like this, why does he is not afforded the same benefits, as you would say, against a bona fide contender? I ask you this. If Anthony Joshua walked onto a Usyk shot like that and fell through the ropes, but gets up immediately without help, yes, he took a count. Yes, he's had to put his gum shield back in. But if that was Anthony Joshua, would you have hailed that as a legitimate stoppage at the end of a round, especially when Lyson didn't hear the bell?
Bro, the end of the round means absolutely nothing. At the end of the day, whether there's 1 second or 1 minute, if the fighter's in trouble, you stop the fight. Rico Verhoeven had never been hit like that. He's a big, you've seen the size of his legs. He's a tough motherfucker. And let's not forget, he was boxing Tyson Fury, like sparring back in 2016. He's a tough guy. He knows what it's about, and he did not complain. When the fight was over, he did not complain. He's only complained and
he
appealed.
did a bit. I remember he was looking at the ref going, no.
Well, yeah, but every fighter does that. He knew it was fair at the time. It's only once he's seen the comments that he's appealed.
Okay, then. Right. Let me come to Dan. Hi, Dan. You there?
I'm here, yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the show, big man. Congratulations on your fight coming up. We look forward to it. We got it in Prediction League as well. Mr. Neutral made sure that was in. And good luck for next week. However, let's bring you back to last night. Yeah. Right? I want to remind you of that stoppage that you suffered, which was...
I knew you was going here, Leo Atang. I knew you was going to go here.
Yeah, I've got to bring receipts, Jams, to the table, and my receipt is Big Dan Garber. Now, Dan, you know what I'm going to say.
100%.
Was that a soft stoppage or not?
Very soft. Now, you only have to look at Wardley and Dubois from the other week. What that man went through for, 10, 11 rounds in that fight. And they let that fight continue. The referee could have stopped that fight. He didn't stop the fight. That was the first time Rico got in any kind of trouble. Now, nobody gave Rico any chance whatsoever going into that fight. I didn't give him a chance, to be honest with you. Now, I spoke to Peter Fury about Rico before this fight, and he said he's a lot better than people are going to think. He's obviously been training with Peter for the last 13, 14 years. Now, he's a big, big man. He's weighing 19 stone. He's 6'5". He's conditioned. And I think their game plan was to take it to him and make it ugly, make it scrappy, bully him. And it worked. I mean, we've seen what Derek Chisora did to him, how uncomfortably was then. Now, I've always said, as good as Usyk is, now he is an unbelievable talent. For me, he's not an all-time great heavyweight. He's only boxed 4 men in the heavyweight division. You know, Dubois, AJ, Fury, Chisora, and now a kickboxer. That resume does not make you an all-time great. I mean, I've seen people saying he's better than Holyfield, he's better than Lewis, etc. And I just think it's stupid, to be honest with you. Now, obviously, the heavyweights now are just getting so big. It's not all about the skill level of these fighters. You know, the size and the conditioning can keep a man in a fight. A lot of them now are relying on one-punch knockout power. I just think, though, last night, for a world title fight, you know, being, well, like you say, level on 2 of them cards, for me, who were ahead, for a lot of people who were ahead, you've got to let a man give him the benefit of doubt and let him go out on his shield. There were a second left in that round.
Exactly. But, I mean, Jams was saying that, you know, the referee's got, you know, this obligation to protect the fighter. But that's within the boundaries of the 3 minutes in that round. The bell had gone.
The bell had gone, and like I said,
and he let the fight continue and then stopped it. So that action should not have counted in my eyes.
No, well, I spoke to Peter this morning about it, and obviously when Peter gave that interview, he was very dignified, and I couldn't believe the way the man was talking. To be honest with you, I'd have been livid. But he did say they were up against everybody that night: the judges, the referee, the people who were putting the show on, etc. Nobody wanted them to win, and no one gave them a chance of winning. But Peter said we wouldn't have got the decision anyway because of the knockdown. Going into the last round, there would have been 2 rounds down on 2 cards, and even on 1 card anyway. So they wouldn't have got the decision, but he deserved to see that final bell.
I think so too, Dan. I think he deserved to go and see the 12th, especially if it was acknowledged by officials, by the referee, that the bell had gone. So the stoppage is actually null and void. And they should have come to some officials should have come to the referee and say, look, we've got to, have a look at this and called a timeout like a VAR.
Well, yeah, they could have done
unfortunately, we don't live in that technological world right now. However, we have to go on and what the referee says. He is in control of the fight.
Yep.
I'm in the same boat as you. Now, I want to bring in quickly the Americans into this because all of these guys from young Alex even, right? He knows his boxing. Homer boxing, Blunson boxing, and Billionaire. All these guys are very well versed in the heavyweight scene, not only of recent times, but of history in itself. And I want to come to Alex the Great first. Alex, you're probably the youngest here. However, you know your salt in this game. Soft stoppage or not?
I would say it was a soft stoppage because I know that refs are supposed to protect the fighters, and I've seen worse stoppages, but this was still a pretty bad one because the ref has to take in consideration that there's a short amount of time. The bell had gone. Granted, he didn't hear it, but Rico was throwing back punches like Fabio Wardley was against Daniel Dubois, and that was one of the reasons why even Scott Foster, who is known for early stoppages, didn't stop the fight because Fabio was throwing back even if he was getting hit. And I thought Rico Verhoeven should have been given the same grace because he was throwing a 1-2 and he was throwing another punch. And then the ref just jumped in and just said, nope, you're done. So I thought it was soft. And I think Rico was robbed of a 12th round. He might have gotten stopped in the 12th, but now we won't know. And now we have this question.
Very well said. Very well said. Over boxing.
Yeah, no, Alex the Great just hit the nail on the head. I agree. I thought the same thing. The scorecards, I didn't agree with that, but I did feel like the ref should have not stopped it, let it go. And then 12 rounds, the 12th round, we really would have found out if Usyk could knock him out cleanly and win the fight, or if he's going to go to the scorecards because Rico's able to withstand all the power from Usyk. So that would have been interesting. We should have saw that. This would have never happened. Now we're dealing with this right now. And I feel like, if anything, it just tarnished Usyk's legacy more. So for some people, it removed them from the pound-for-pound list, or like from the top 3 at least. And that's not a good look. So I think the only way to get this back is by a rematch, like how when he fought Dubois for a second time, and many said he lost the first fight due to the low blow. So I think this time he might need to do a rematch again. But yeah, no, they should have definitely let it go till the 12th round. And if that happened, no one would have ever probably said anything. We really would have found out what would have happened and not blamed it on the ref or on anybody.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thank you. Blunson boxing, I come to you because you like me, you love your history. We've seen over the decades some magnificent championship unification level fights, regardless of the background or the resume. Verhoeven was in a championship fight. Can you imagine the fight between, let's say, for instance, Shannon Briggs and Lennox Lewis, right? And you brought that fight to today. That fight would have been stopped about 15 times. Do you agree that this fight that you saw last night was a soft stoppage?
I think that what we saw last night was an example of uh, a mixture of like recency bias as well as what we had seen last. So, and I just give this as an example. Wardley Dubois, a vast majority of us pundits walked away believing that that was stopped far too late and too much punishment was allowed to be given to Dubois, not Dubois, sorry, Wardley.
Jabardly, yeah.
So it makes me wonder if that's what we saw last night was an indication of a referee not wanting the fight to go too long, or damage to really be inflicted so much so that the referee ends up getting a bad name. Well, look what we have here. I think we see that a lot in boxing, where we would see a premature stoppage followed by a late stoppage, followed by a premature stoppage again and again and again, because
See,
this is the sport. It's of what we have seen last.
there seems to be no happy medium. We go from the
No.
brutality of Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois, where people you quite rightly say were calling for that fight to be stopped 2 rounds earlier. You're looking at Ben Davison to throw the towel in. He's not. He's imagine Ben Davison, in Verhoeven's corner. He would have had a heart attack in round 11 watching his guy getting stopped like that. What I want to highlight here is the fact that we can't go from that bloodfest to the first time that Rico got hurt, which was an uppercut. He walked into an uppercut. That's the one that his his gum shield come out and he went through the ropes. He got up after that. They found the gum shield. He had to go back and get that put in after the standing count. He took his count. He walked over to the corner and put his gum shield in, and then set back and stopped the action immediately after the next attack. That was the polar opposite of Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dubois. Home of boxing. Are you in agreement there that we have to have some sort of criteria where referees have this let's sing off the one hymn sheet?
Yes, they have to, because that is honestly a good valid point. Duval versus Wardley, that was exactly that fight could have been stopped. Wow, with this fight, they were just the first time we saw Rico hurt, they just stopped it. That made absolutely no sense.
Correct.
It seemed like it's like how many people predicted it. Many people thought just Usyk would have ran through him. So then when they saw that didn't happen, I don't know what happened with the ref or what. But we seen even Turkey come out saying that he had Rico up. So I'm confused why the ref did that. It was just like up to him. I thought maybe Turkey told him or something, but no, it seems like it was just really the ref who had the say, and he just wanted to help out Usyk. It seems like, but yeah, he should have not done that. And ref should like all follow the same thing. They should not pick and choose like how they're gonna judge a fight.
Thank you, mate. Now back to Dan Garber. Dan,
hold on, bro. You forgot Billionaire.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was Billionaire. Please apologise. Billionaire, come to you, mate. Same thing.
Oh man, I just they gotta protect the investment. Rico Van Hooven surprised me. I'm sure he surprised everybody in the boxing game.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, they gotta protect the investment. I think Rico Van Hooven would have done a lot of damage to future endeavors. And the moment that they got a way to get Usyk out of there, because he was a round away from probably one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, if not.
It would have been the biggest.
So you're alluding that was more or less just an establishment decision in the 11th round to save face and to save boxing and not make a mockery of its rankings and its legends of the past 20 years.
Absolutely, that's what I'm conspiring, man. They got it. The opportunity presented itself, and they saved the boxing rankings from dire discombobulation.
Dan, would you agree with that?
100%. Yep. There's no two ways about it. I mean, after the fight, what did Turkey say? He said in the ring, he deserves a rematch, but first we want Caballal and then the rematch with Rico. Do you know, he knows what kind of money these fights are going to be bringing in. I know he's paying them a fortune himself, but he knows what that's bringing into the countries as well, that he's putting these events on, etc. And it boxing would have been a laughing stock if Rico had got the decision last night. There's no two ways about it. And you look at fights in the past, look at Corrales Castillo, you look at Gatti Ward, you look at Vitaly Klitschko, the beating that he gave Shannon Briggs, and they let them fights go on and on and on. And last night, you know, Usyk's not a massive puncher. He had the guy in the first little bit of trouble in the fight in the 11th round in the jump in.
Yeah, exactly, because he doesn't have a 95% knockout rate like Daniel
he's not
Dubois
a one punch
or Fabio Wardley. You know, a lot of his recent fights he's won by decision.
But the only man he
apart
stopped
from the
at heavyweight
Dubois
is
stoppage.
Yeah, he's Dubois. Yeah.
So I just don't think that Rico Verhoeven was given a level playing field in a what is now, for me, considering I'm looking at the heavyweight division is getting so health and safety conscious that fights like super fights at heavyweight that we grew up with, you know, and adored and loved and adored these fights, they're going to vanish into the realms of history through too much health and safety in the game? Or is it a fact that these boxers these days are punching way harder than their predecessors?
I don't think they are punching harder. I don't think guys are hitting harder than what George Foreman, Ernie Shavers, guys like Lewis, Klitschko, Riddick Bowe hit. Do you know, Ray Mercer as well, guys like that could all punch. I don't think they're hitting any harder than that. Tyson, etc. It's like it's like football. That's turning into a non-contact sport now, and the stoppages now are just getting worse and worse and worse. And I've been there myself, so I know exactly how it feels.
Who else better to understand this than you? And you know, this was on television.
It's happened to me twice. It happened against Leo Tang, and it happened against Italma. But I've always said Italma would have knocked me into another world if they'd, you know what I mean. But it were a soft stoppage. There's no two ways about it. You know, I've been in fights before. I mean, the Tom Carty fight, I had a fractured eye socket, I had a broken rib, and I went 8 rounds and kept fighting in the fight. You get these guys now, they land one punch, the referees are jumping in, and it is to protect their star fighter. They're trying to compare everything to what somebody else has done. So the same with Leo Tang. Oh, Italma stopped him in 2 minutes 55 seconds. Leo Tang's just done it in 1 minute and 10 seconds, you know. But then you look at the actual stoppage and you think, yeah, it's a load of bollocks. And last night were a load of bollocks. There's no two ways about it. He were there. They did not want the controversy of Usyk losing because it would have made a mockery of boxing. There's no two ways about it. What would happen if Rico 2-0 were the WBC champion and he's just beat the so-called all-time great heavyweight? Could you imagine? Who would he be fighting next?
This is the horrifying prospect that the establishment and the sanctioning bodies who are sanctioning this fight can, you know, Rick Rido, I believe, was getting a hellacious talking down to by Tucky Al-Sheikh in the middle of the ring. You know, in arguments about what's going to happen next, no doubt. And I want to big up this comment and big up everyone in the chat, by the way, to Bob and Osiris. Cyrus says Rico brought out a style from 100 years ago and he put the heavyweight division on notice. I said in the commentary, this guy fights like someone from the 30s. You know, the way the rolling fists and the straight on front and back movements and the half steps to the side. That's very old school. And this evolution of boxing, you're talking about the current top 3 pound for pound guy in the world simply couldn't cope with. Jump in,
It was the
anyone.
literal definition of why I oughta.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of a mixture of things. I think that's what a lot of people kind of gets past them as reported, and I hadn't realized it until I actually saw the reference that this is the most Usyk had ever weighed in any fight that he has competed in.
235.
Yes, so that tells us something right off the bat. In terms of Rico, that specific style that everybody keeps bringing up, it's very awkward. He didn't actually use his size as an advantage. He actually crouched down to his opponent, something you don't really do when you have a size advantage. You actually try to use that size advantage, and maybe in his unique way of fighting, which was just so odd and awkward, it made it difficult for Usyk to determine on exactly what to do, how to approach that when you have done nothing but fought bigger guys who fought their size.
Absolutely.
So that was so unique for him. It was such an odd fight, but in my opinion, it's just like I don't mean to belittle Usyk. Does he still deserve to be in the pound for pound rankings? Because more often than not, you don't put heavyweights in unless they are the exception. Or does he allowed at least in the top 5? I don't know. This is such a unique case in recency for a guy that only fights once a year.
It's very
you have to
unique.
take into account his cruiserweight record as well, though, guys. You've got to remember that. This guy was a king at cruiserweight and then a king at heavyweight. Yes, it's not the best era, and he's getting some what people call touches, and like AJ, Ruiz had already dealt with him. Fury, though, was unbeaten. I know he'd only fought Wilder 3 times, really. That's good on his resume. There's a lot to talk about it, but at the same time, you've got to give him his props. He's never been beat. He's done it all. He steps in with most men. He needs to be a bit more active, though, of course. For me, he's in the top 5, but I won't put him in the top 3 anymore. Definitely not.
Right. Well, look, the guy has been kicked in the head for 10 years, right? Unbeaten. He's got nothing more to prove in that sport. He comes over here to boxing. He's made a massive name for himself. And as Cyrus says, a number of fighters could benefit from that crouched, condensed torso stance Rico was using. Rather, if you go and watch Rocky Marciano, I think Rico Verhoeven's a massive fan. He's got that same crouching, rolling fist style with the same leg movement, and he really gets up close, especially with his long reach. And he just reminded me of a massive Rocky Marciano. And it was such an old school sort of performance, Jams, that I come back to the point is, could we learn something? Could boxers, as Cyrus says, actually reevaluate boxing training techniques? Because we seem to be stuck in this rut where, and especially in this country, that we're not seeing massive weaponry arsenals, different shots, techniques coming like we used to get with the heavyweights. We're not seeing that anymore. It seems to be more power-based, structured fighting. Anyone want to come into that?
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. To be honest, a lot of the heavyweights nowadays are they look good. It's all about the aesthetically pleasing fighters now, like AJ. Everyone gets behind the good-looking, big, muscly, roid-looking guy. No one cares about the real traditional values of fighting anymore. Like you mentioned, Rocky Marciano, brawler. Although he was mob-connected and apparently a few of his fights were thrown, but we'll never know. But nowadays it's more about how you look. It's social media presence. There's so many variables that go into what makes a decent heavyweight these days. It's a shame, and it's ruining what is a beautiful sport.
Absolutely, Charms. Absolutely. Dan, you still there, mate?
I'm still here, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about the implications of that fight, being an establishment sort of stoppage. You mentioned that, that he would have lost the fight anyway on a count back. But you were dead right. That man was denied going out of his shield basically on pure fright that, this man was going to stop Usyk. Because I was saying to someone there today, I think Usyk was in danger of being stopped himself up until that point where he got his stoppage, and we'll never know now, Dan. But have we got to be careful that, as you said before, the boxing doesn't get stuck in, as one of the lads said, doesn't get stuck in this niche of, oh, we're stopping fights way too early. They're just killing the beauty of the game.
100%, it is. Yeah, I mean, and last night proved it. You can't say it wasn't stopped early, and it is killing the game, and it's not giving people a fair crack either. You know, the underdog like Rico, and yeah, he wouldn't have got the decision on the cards. You know, like I've said previously, I spoke to Peter about it this morning. They knew, you know, he said they were up against everyone on the night, but the end of the day, I think the real winner on the night was Rico, and everybody saw that in the eyes. It was like in Ngannou against Fury. You know, a lot of people had Ngannou sneaking that fight, but you know, the moral victor last night was Rico, and they're not going to give him a rematch. I think everybody knows that.
Oh no, but let's
And
talk about that, Dan, because look, you know, Tucky Al Sheikh wants the rematch. Rick Riedel says no, it's got to be Ajit Kabayel. We all know that we want Kabayel next for Usyk. But look, as I said to my man Jams, I don't think Usyk, after that performance, he's going to look back at that and go, here's a number of things happened in this fight. I strategically come in overweight. I strategically tried not to be too light to let this monster of a man lean all over me. He's felt that with Fury. He's felt that with AJ. Right?
yep,
So he goes into this fight strategically heavier and finds out his gas tank is not as good as it was. Right? This is what I think. And the fact that Usyk, I have never ever seen Usyk get tagged with right hands from Verhoeven as in any of his previous fights. I've never seen Usyk in trouble in many rounds than in previous fights. I saw Usyk age overnight with his conditioning. Now, he would have to strip a stone off to get back to what he was. Are we seeing the end of a Usyk era? And do you agree with me to preserve his legacy, that Usyk will now retire, vacate the belts, and then he'll fight Verhoeven in a rematch in an exhibition?
Well, I think he'll get rid of his WBC belt, and Kabayel will end up being upgraded to full champion. He don't fight
that's what I
enough,
see.
and there's people queuing up now. These young guys are coming through, and you know they get people.
Frank Sanchez is after Kabayel.
It's not gonna. You can't keep them all happy, and
These are big punchers, my man.
They are, yeah. And last night's performance, Usyk. If you're gonna beat Usyk, you have to put him under pressure and rough him up. And Kabayel is a master at putting people under pressure with his body punching as well. And Kabayel's grown on me. At first, I wasn't sold on him, but he has grown on me over the last year. And he could be a bad matchup at this stage of Usyk's career. I think Usyk's on. There's no two ways about it. I think he is on the slide. He's 39 now. You know, he had a long amateur career. I know he hasn't had many pro fights, but he's been a pro now for 14 years.
Yeah.
You know, he's come from cruiserweight to heavyweight. He's only fighting once a year now, and I know he lives a life, but it can just catch up to you at any time. And maybe last night it did catch up to him. You know, there's these younger guys now coming through, and I think, to be honest with you, it's time for him to walk away. He doesn't need to prove out. Yeah, people are going to say last night you need to fight him again, but he don't need to fight him again. End of the day, it goes down as a stoppage win, doesn't it? So
it does.
Yeah, and he'll just say, basically, he can say, well, look at the scorecards. I were up on one card and level on two. I would have got the decision anyway. He can walk away now, undefeated, a two-weight undisputed champion and an Olympic gold medalist. I don't think he'll fight Kabayel, to be honest. I think he'll vacate that belt.
Thanks, Dan. Jams, I come to you, mate. You know, give me your thoughts on the next steps for Alexander Usyk. Bearing in mind what myself and Dan have already
I'm gonna have to shoot
stated.
anyway, boys.
Dan,
But thanks
thank you for
having me.
your time, brother.
All right, mate.
Truly,
Cheers.
truly appreciate you. We'll get on to you soon, mate. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Right, Jams.
Yes, brother. Yeah, to be honest, Usyk, he looked flat, he looked pedestrian, he looked nothing like his former self. It was uninspiring, it was laboured, like I said. It was everything that's not usually Usyk. You know what I mean? We've seen him take out Triple D with an absolute banger of an uppercut, and then we've seen what Triple D done to Wardley. You can't put stock in what fighters do to other fighters, of course, but it usually gives you a standard of how they're fighting, you know. And Usyk took care of Dubois pretty quick, even after Partygate, etc. But Usyk last night was flat. He looked very, very out of ideas. He did not know how to handle that style of Rico Verhoeven. And that was worrying. Has he aged overnight, or did he just take it lightly? He was the biggest he's ever been. He didn't seem in shape. He didn't seem himself. Maybe it was just a bad night and he'll come back. You know, if they fought again, he'd probably knock him out in 2 rounds. And that's the thing. You just don't know. If it happens, we'll find out. But you can't put too much stock in a kickboxer coming in. It's a completely new style. It's new everything. It's completely new to Usyk. I don't think he was expecting it. You know, the head down, the boorish style, the big tree trunk legs. I think it just threw him off his game. And he had a bad night in Giza. Doesn't mean he's done, but at the same time, if he retired, I'd say well done, one of the greats. Not the best, not a GOAT, but one of the greats.
Thank you, mate. Let's go to bloods and boxing. You know, you've heard about what we've said. You know, you're a guy that likes to think outside the box. You know, what from what you've witnessed, what do you think is going to happen next?
So I'm going to be the odd man. Make the Kabayel fight.
Right.
In Germany, sell out an arena, do big business. And I might be the one guy where I feel like, let's not forget, Kabayel himself is in his mid-30s. So him and Usyk, in terms of age, is that not big of a separation? So it makes one believe that, you know, a Kabayel fight, if you really break it down, yes, Kabayel is likely the most dangerous opponent for him in terms of current guys in the top 5, top 3. But it's still a very viable fight for Usyk to win. He wins this fight. He all of a sudden erases the memory we have of Rico. And then, and I will be the guy who constantly will bring this up, as his fight out, another crossover fight. Alex Pereira, if he's successful in the UFC. And I say this because you know what? I think Alex is such a prideful individual. Alexander is such a prideful individual that he'll want to prove a point. And let's not forget, Alex Pereira is also considered one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. He's a multi-division champion glory, just like Rico. But not just that, he transferred his skills over to mixed martial arts, became a 2-division champ, one of very few in mixed martial arts history. And he's about to possibly be the first ever 3-division champ in mixed martial arts. Tell me that doesn't sell in terms of crossover combat sports fights.
Oh,
Shama.
absolutely.
Neutral, sorry, mate, just quickly, just before we move on, bro.
Yep.
The fight against Usyk Kabayel is going to happen in Turkey next year, not in Germany. They're setting it up for January. That was the fight before last night. And Eilif Nurturhan's going to be co-main on the card.
Now, this all depends.
Turkey.
This all depends on Usyk's decision. You heard him on after the fight. He said, you know, my family is in a bunker in Ukraine. He misses his family. I come back to it. Let's go home with boxing. Is this a good time for Usyk to walk away, or does he take another gamble, especially with a hard-hitting body puncher like Usyk Kabayel?
And I think he should definitely stay. I think just Rico was just not. He just never fought style like that. That just out of like that just came out of nowhere for him. He probably wasn't expecting that. And then Rico was built crazy from feet to head. Everything was like the same size. He just had that size advantage on him. He just kept on coming forward. Usyk wasn't ready for that. And we've seen Usyk. When it comes to rematches, he always just knocks you out clean, quickly. So first, I think he should do Caballero, a fighter that actually boxes like what he's actually used to and understands of. And I think he'll probably beat Caballero, but it'll definitely be a good fight. And then I think he should get the rematch with Rico, and then just show everybody why the first time was a fluke. And I think he'll probably knock him out this time for real in under 8 rounds because he's gonna understand now. I even saw it in the fight. Like he just needed to throw that uppercut, and he finally got in the 11th, and that's when yep, he finally realized what he
Yeah.
has to do. And then that's why, like, now in the next fight, he's like, all right, this guy just comes with his head down. He's a big guy. He's looking like Frankenstein. He's not gonna come down unless I throw an uppercut. He's probably gonna start throwing uppercuts, and probably he's just gonna figure him out. So I think he should fight Caballero and then fight Rico again, just so then everybody that are hating just like forget about that. Like how I said with the Dubois one, they forgot about it quickly as soon as he beat him the second time.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. So you're saying you want to see the Verhoeven rematch. Blunt's wants him to move on to Pereira. Sorry, we lost Alex there as well. Oh, I was just going to come to him next. Oh, there he is now. So, welcome back, Alex.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I keep like losing you. Like every time someone else talks, the next time you try to talk, you're gone. So I have to keep jumping out and in.
All right. Sorry, we do have some technical difficulties now and then with this platform. But however, let's get your take on what Alexander Usyk is going to do. You think he's going to do next?
What I think he will do next is, I wish I could give a different take, but I think he will fight Caballero next. And I would favor him, even though Caballero is not far away from him in age. Usyk does have more wear and tear, and his style is more reliant on his athleticism and his speed. Even if he gets back down to his normal weights, he's getting older, and Father Time is undefeated. So I think it would be a closer fight, but I would still edge Usyk probably by decision, maybe split, maybe majority, but it would still be a good fight. Will he rematch Rico? I don't think he will. I think he'll just move on from this and it'll just be a what if in
Yeah.
boxing history. And I think he'll just call it a career. I know he says he has, 3 more fights and this was one of them, so he's got 2 more. I don't think he'd want to rematch Rico. I think he'd want a different fight. Maybe, like our other guest just said, Alex Pereira, another kickboxer.
Yep. There is that. He did say he had 3 fights left.
I don't think Dana White will allow that.
Yeah.
So consider that. I just want to
If the
say,
money is green enough,
you know
Dana will
who,
let it happen.
and not just
Good
that,
point.
you know who pretty much is like running Dana's boxing program in terms of finances. Turkey Al Sheikh.
Of
Yeah,
course.
So
but he wants a
if
rematch.
if Turkey Al Sheikh were to say, "Hey Dana, let the also 40-year-old fight the other 40-year-old," because
And
both of
hit
them are
that
on their
for
way out.
yeah.
Again, Dana, all he cares about is money, and
Oh,
he cares
but
about also the attention he gets. So making a fight like that and promoting that fight gives a lot of attention to Dana White.
I
Yeah, to
think
be honest, mate, Usyk's
yeah.
going to go where the money is because he's still funneling money to the Ukraine for their war with Russia. So he's going to go where the big money is. If he can get 100
Allegedly.
And
million for the Rico rematch, that's
and
where he'll
they
go.
could and they could make that fight in the United States. That could be his first fight back in the United States because Alex is a huge draw here in the United States. So literally, I mean, in terms of commercially, that is an enormous fight if all the chips can fall into place.
Okay then. Thank you, gentlemen. That's that fight dealt with. Now let's quickly move down to the undercard. We got 15 minutes left. Uh Jack Carroll versus Shakram Giasov. Jams, a bit of a masterclass from Jack.
It was awesome, mate. I'll never back against Jack Cat again. I will never back against the cat. Honestly, man, I always back him. And then this time I just thought, Giasov's a little bit slick, from the amateurs and that. I didn't realise his punch resistance was so weak. He got absolutely bitched up, mate. It was embarrassing to see, to be quite honest. Jack Catterall looked like his daddy in there. It was dominant. It was one-sided. It was a mismatch in truth. A bit like a couple of the other fights we're going to get on in a second.
Yeah. Thank you, mate. Alex the Great, Jack Catterall, suitably impressed, and where would you rank him? In your own welterweight ranks.
For me, Catterall, I did pick him by unanimous decision, but he impressed me very much. He took the fight to Giazov and he paid that dude's face red with his own nose blood. It was awesome to see Jack do so well. I I would have him maybe top 8
Top eight.
full championship now, but I don't see him as one of the best welterweights, so he would need to win another fight for me to consider him in my top 5.
How would you
Thank.
see him against Haney going at 147?
Haney would
I think
box
he
his
puts
ears
it on
off.
Haney. It could cause Haney trouble. Although Haney's very
Oh,
slick.
there we go. The Americans say Haley would box his ears off. Let's go to Blunson boxing on that. Are you there,
Bear
Blunts?
with me, guys. Bear with me.
Okay.
So this is
Yeah.
what's so unique, and I'm right there with Jams. It's like the times you count Jack out, he surprises you, and I had actually felt that way about the fight when we were speaking in spaces or other groups. I was pretty much like Jack is the type of guy where I feel like in fights he more often than not should win. He looks like shit. And then when
Yeah.
fights in which we feel like he's not going to win because of his previous fights, he all of a sudden comes up the best we have seen him. And what we saw, I feel like last night was the best Jack we could see. And if he could do that against Rolly Romero, I think he knocks Rolly Romero out. And I
Oh,
and I think he puts himself in position in the top 3 with a win like that.
I agree
He
with
would
that
do terrible things
100%.
to Rolly Romero.
He would. He
Terrible
would.
things.
The bloody
uh,
super champ who's had no defence of his title or fought in a year. Come on now,
there
what
you
we
go.
doing? WBA, take a bow, son, take a bow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we had this discussion about the sanctuary bodies, the other day there, and this, is a prime example of this. Now, home of boxing, did you like? What did you have in prediction, Lee? I can't remember now.
I had Jack Catterall UD.
Yeah, so it went to how you thought it go, but
Yeah.
how impressed were you with Jack?
No, yeah. The only thing that was kind of maybe throwing me up, like he might not be the same because he wasn't with Bozy Ennis no more for his trainer. But no,
Yeah,
I saw he still pretty much had the same skills. Those skills don't go away. He
Yeah,
fights like that. He's a tough style. So I know like when it comes to like when he fought Giestov, I was thinking like he's not a fighter that's gonna stay there and let you hit him. So I was like, yeah, he's
yeah,
definitely gonna win UD. So I feel like he's gonna be a tough test for anybody that are stationary. So like Rolly, who's a kind of a stationary fighter. I don't think he'll go good against Rolly. I think he'll beat Rolly UD. I don't think he'll knock him out. But I think Catterall is just a hard style for anybody. But like for the likes of Devin Haney, no, Devin Haney does what he does way better. We saw Catterall lost to Arnold Barboza, and Barboza's a decent fighter as well. I just feel like he just pulled it off because he was a bit quicker than Catterall. And I think Haney has the speed and the strength over Catterall. So I think just Catterall, he could honestly be a champion if he fights Rolly next, but I'm not sure if Rolly's team is going to allow that.
that's some
very good
great
points,
points you
that.
made there. There's
Very
that
good
there is that
points.
there is that triangle through Barbosa, I
He's back with
suppose.
Swifty Smith, Mike, by the way. He
But
left
this
Bozy
is
Ennis
my
to go
next
back with
point.
Swifty.
This was the next point about Jack. Now that he's gone to back to a British training team, the Vitunda ABC in Liverpool here, where I'm at, and the Smith brothers, they bring spite to his game. And I saw a spiteful Jack Catterall, Alex.
A spiteful Jack Catterall. It certainly wasn't as much spite as when I thought he was with Boozy Ennis because he was sitting a little bit more on his power punches. But I will say that Catterall was in there to do some counter damage, and he did throw the meanest shots with the hardest intent. But he
Yeah.
never was on the front foot. He was always trying to rely on his counter punching.
That's exactly what I saw because I've never
He,
seen Jack
he could
throw
have knocked him
into
out if he wanted
punches like
to.
that. Yeah,
He could have knocked Jack Catterall could have knocked him out in 6 if he was still with Bosie and was going for them haymakers. But he took
yeah,
the Stephen Swifty Smith style and just went back to just picking him off and just winning the fight. And that's what he always done before. And that's why people don't sell on Catterall because
yeah,
he's not always the most pleasant to watch.
Well,
absolutely. Well,
with
he's certainly
Jack
unnoticed
going
now.
back to the Liam brothers, I I'm happy that it's working out for him. That Boozy Ennis wasn't going to be his end all be all, but I would like to see him develop his front foot game because he's not the hardest puncher. If he had the puncher power of a Brian Norman Jr., he'd be a much more formidable opponent. But he has enough power to sting you, and he doesn't just need to rely on his counter punching. If he a little bit more of the front foot, he'd be putting more guys out.
Yeah, that's a great
Absolutely.
Yeah,
matchup,
I agree.
actually. Two southpaws, Jack Carroll and Brian Norman Jr. But let's go back to the heavyweight division and an incredible scenes when Richard
Frankie
Torres
Sanchez. Wow.
Jr. was laid flat and out for the count by Cuba's Frank Sanchez coming in at 240 pounds to Richard Torres's. It's he. I think he defies gravity. 229. He didn't look that. He didn't look 230 pound in there, but he was. And Frank Sanchez has announced himself back on the world stage, and now the IBF mandatory to Usyk. Therefore, scaring Usyk to death with another, and he would have seen that there being, in the gym, sorry, in the changing room. Uh, I didn't see it coming, but let's go to Blunts and a setback for American boxing.
It's a huge step back for American boxing. It's a yeah. I got to leave the conversation, guys. I'm hurt still. I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
I'm playing, but it's unfortunate because, of course, I think a lot of us felt like Richard had the cojones that a lot of other of the top 10 did not have
yeah,
in willing to take that fight against Sanchez, willing to take the coin flip to see if Sanchez was still the fighter he once was. The one guy during a point in time was being argued as one of the most feared heavyweights in boxing. Well, it turns out that the boogeyman is real, and his name is Frank Sanchez.
absolutely well said. Home of boxing. Uh, Cuba's Frank Sanchez, as I said before, as Blunt said, just announced himself back with a brutal knockout. Heart in your mouth job for you, sir.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I feel like I just more fell into hype of everybody because I'm like, all right, yeah, they got a point. The knee, I even saw his knee buckle against Cabello. So I'm like, yeah, no way. Frank Sanchez, or yeah, or Richard Torres, he's with Bomac. He's gonna level up his game. He's probably
Yeah,
gonna outbox him, and then his knee's gonna hurt. Frank Sanchez's knee's about to hurt, and then that's when he'll take over. But no, I should have not even believed in all that. I should have just, cut that noise all out, and then yeah, no, Frank Sanchez. He's a real heavyweight in the division. The only fighter he really lost to was Caballero. So I wasn't really surprised when I saw that. I'm like, damn, yeah, no. How Bloodstone Boxing was saying, Richard Torres, he took the coin flip. He really wanted to like prove a statement, make a statement, but we clearly saw it was too early for him. And Frank Sanchez, yeah, he just proved he's here to stay. And I think the rematch with Caballero should be next for him if Caballero doesn't get the Usyk fight.
yeah, good points, mate. Good points. Alex the Great, Frank Sanchez is now the IBF mandatory, now 2 years, but people say that fight's way down the line. But the implications to US boxing now, as Blunt said, the setback uh, is huge because the disparity is just getting wider.
Unfortunately, yes, because in America, boxing isn't the sport it once was in terms of our heavier guys. Our heavy guys are going into football and getting paid multi millions. They're going into basketball. They're going into all these other sports, or they'll just go into MMA if they so choose. But not because even though MMA, you have to be good at a lot more different things. it's quote unquote easier to become a high level MMA fighter than it is to be a high level boxer. So it's just it sucks that we're not gonna have any good representation in this division, which makes me wonder: was Deontay Wilder really better than I gave him credit for? No, he
Yeah.
wasn't. He just hit very hard and had amazing timing.
Yeah.
But
He was
he
the
held it
end
down
of.
for America for years, and
Yeah.
now we've got nothing.
And yet nobody knew who he was. You know what I mean? In America,
Yeah.
nobody knew Deontay Wilder. They
Exactly.
walked him through the streets of New York, and not one person knew who he
Unbelievable.
was. They all thought he was
Unbelievable.
a basketball player.
That couldn't happen here. That could not happen. If you had an Anthony Joshua just walking the streets,
Even grandmothers know who he is.
he couldn't
Well,
happen.
even
Right.
your guys is like lighter weight fighters. Like if someone, who's, like your size, Mr. Neutral, walks down the street and they're, a
Yeah.
boxing champion, people in your country be like, oh my gosh, that's, so and so. We love this
Nicky
guy,
Ball.
all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
Nick Ball.
Nick Ball, there you
Nick
go.
Bollock.
Well, let's just get on to the last of the fights that I want to cover. They're very quickly, chaps. There's Hamza Shiraz versus Alan Begic for the WBO vacant super middleweight title. It went according to plan. It was a second round knockout. No one was surprised, to be fair, Jams. However, let's not look at Alan Begic here. Let's look forward to Hamza Shiraz. You had Canelo ringside. Tucker Al-Sheikh is his favorite man now. The sky's the limit for Hamza.
Yeah, I see a lot of potential there, mate, but I'm not sold at all. We've seen him get schooled by Adamez. He claimed he had a bad hand. I don't like excuses. It's like David Hay with toe gates all over again. If you're gonna box, stand on business. If you get in that ring, don't matter what injuries you got, mate. You're in the ring. Deal with the matter and deal with it proper. He didn't do that. He should have lost. He got a sneaky draw. He then ran up to 168. Adames then said, "I'll come up 168, fight you again." Didn't want to do it. He fought an absolute bum last night in Alan Begic, an absolute joke. Whose best win was against the guy who Alan Graves knocked out in 2 rounds in Derby, which me and you were live for, bro. It was just.
Yeah.
It was an embarrassing fight to be co-main event on a card the magnitude of this. Even though the main event was a gimmick, it was still a huge card. You had Giasov Castro, you had Frank Sanchez, Richard Torres Jr. Why the hell was this co-main event? And it went exactly as we thought it would go. It was a mismatch. It wasn't even a fight. It was pathetic, let's be honest. I'm not sold on Hamza Shiraz. I want him to do well. He's a Brit. Let's get behind him. But come on now, it's just another Mark bloody Chamberlain, mate, another Turkey favourite who's going to get ironed out as soon as it gets tough. If he fights Osleys Iglesias, Canelo and Billy, anyone like that, he's getting done.
Thanks, mate. Homer boxing, 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, I don't like how they're pushing for that Canelo fight nonstop. They should have let Hamza Shiraz, be in his own career. And yeah, that fight, yeah, it went as expected. That was a surprise. I realized it was going to go under 3 as soon as I saw the face-off. And yeah, the Adames fight, yeah, I feel like he should have lost that one. And then that way he should just, how Jans was saying, just own up to it. Just have an L in his record and then just keep on moving forward. But yeah, he definitely needs to get that rematch with Adames eventually, I feel like. But then, yeah, no, the Canelo fight, who knows if that'll be, because Billy still has to. And Billy, he might end up winning that fight. So whoever wins from those, he should just start unifying, though. He shouldn't fight no more tune-ups, where supposedly that they might get him a tune-up, and that sucks. Because, yeah, I just want to see Shiraz, because he's good. I think Andy Lee's getting him right. He's getting him really prepared for anybody. So I think he should just step up already. And like how we saw with the Damas fight, step up with anybody that's a champion, and then we'll just see how he does from there.
Thanks very much. And Alex, your final thoughts.
So my final thoughts for Hamza Shiraz. Shiraz, he is what we thought he was. He's a big puncher for these dudes who have no chance in hell against him. And that's what we saw. A dude who was brought in just to be a body for a highlight for one of Turkey's favorite fighters. And congratulations, you're a world champion. You didn't earn it, in my opinion. You beat who was in front of you, but that was a 100 ranked fighter who got moved up to 4th just so you could have a highlight. So congratulations on your world title. You're not the best in the division, and I don't think you will be.
Thank you, Alex. And I want to thank Homer Boxing, to Billionaire Boxing TV, to Blunson Boxing, and our special guest, Dan Garber. Jams, my man, it wasn't, we should have expected some sort of drama from this kind of card and, with this kind of fight as a headliner. However, If we just look at the boxing side of it, it was a great card, some great knockouts, some not so great fights. But I've got to give special mention to Jamar Talley, the cruiserweight, the American. He's one to keep an eye on. He improved to 7-0-0 with a brutal knockout of Bazin Mandua, who was 10-2-0 in the second round in his fight. He's one to keep an eye on. Daniel Lappin was upset by Benjamin Mendez-Tani in the fourth round with that knockout, ending his dreams of the IBF Continental Light Heavy and the WBO International Light Heavyweight title as well. Jams, your last thoughts?
Yeah, it was not the best card boxing wise, let's be truthful. There wasn't much boxing going on. It was more of a gimmick card, but it's caused a lot of debates. You know, we're here talking about it. People are all over the internet talking about it. So it's exactly what Turkey wants. It's about causing divide in boxing and just making people talk about his rubbish that he's putting on. And that's what it's all about. It's making him cash. For every time we speak on it, he's making bank. And that's what he does. He's literally is like one of them little 19-year-old teeny boppers who message you and then block you straight after so you can't message back. That's Turkey Al Sheikh. He is making boxing a joke for his own fucking greedy gain.
Well, there you are. You had James's point of view. You've had all the guys as well. I wish to thank everybody who joined us in the chat as well, giving their opinions. This is what boxing's all about. This is why we're here, to hear and answer everybody and such unique viewpoints as well. If you're new to Red Corner Boxing, watching for the first time, please give us a like and subscribe. It sure helps the channel grow. And the show is sponsored by BoxingFightZone.com, who are our channel sponsors. The links are in the bio. There's a cheeky discount or two on all your boxing merchandise and apparel. Until next Sunday, and that's going to be a great card. We've got the MVP card to review. Oshaki Foster and Ford are fighting. There's a couple of other great fights as well off the top of my head. Amari Jones is fighting on Friday night. There's a few good fights. And, of course, Amanda Serrano's back headlining in the MVP card. But
Co-main, bro.
Sorry, co-main event. I do
it's Holly
apologize.
Hope too is main.
That's the one.
Just fought as well.
Yeah, so Prediction League is back on Wednesdays. Make sure you join us for them with Alex and Homer Boxing. Prediction League 1 contenders continue their quest to
Joker
become.
might be next.
Let's hope so.
We've got a guy there as well. We've got a guy in El Paso, Texas, doing media for Red Corner Boxing, and Mr. Håkan Johansson, the Swedish traveller. So big up, Håkan. Thank you for your work, my man.
Absolutely. We thank all of our content contributors who really part of the family and just here to make everybody grow into something unique. The dream is on, it's alive, and we will not fail. We refuse to lose here at Red Corner Boxing. All good things come to those who wait. Now, as I said, join us next week, but join us again Tuesday night. I've got an interview with Garth Newt, the South African Welshman, who is a journeyman, but he's on the upward trend. Look forward to that on Tuesday, Jams. But until then, guys, see you next week. Bye-bye.
God bless all.
Step in the ring, no fear, all bite, hands up high. We train for this fight, bell gon' ring, it's war on sight. This is boxing life, this is fight. Sweat on the floor, we grind, we climb. Every bruise on the body means